Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So as you can tell from the title of this video, this is going to be our summarized narrated version of building the Birkin S3 wide body. Now we received the Birkin, as you will see from part 1, from our friend Francois when it was already a rolling chassis. So we only decided to start recording these videos as we started getting into the wiring. So that's sort of where we pick up the story in today's video, really, with the motor already half fitted into the engine bay, and then moving on to the actual wiring, or starting with the wiring. Right, just a quick update. Brendan is busy sorting out the wiring in the cabin for us over there. In the meantime, I've been carrying on with the fuel tank over here. We will need to cut this off a little bit. I'm going to go and mark it out right now, because what we need to do is this little blank off plate needs to then go here where the return to the radiator used to actually sit. So this is the unit we installed in place of the thermostat housing. Water temperature sensors fits into those two holes absolutely perfectly. It's the same ones that came off the original car. We had to remove the throttle bodies to be able to get to the adapter that normally goes in between here and the water pump. And that will be replaced by this yoke over here. So this alternator bracket is really fighting us. These holes were drilled way too small. With the result is that it's too tight to fit.
So we are underneath the car at the moment, and as you can see, here is the sump.
Okay, and sticking with the racing theme, we're going to install this unit onto the Birkin. It's a flip up, switch on, switch off type scenario that will bring on a light, and then obviously push start for the starter instead of a key setup that you would normally expect in a normal car. Let me show you how we do it. So this is the adapter plate in question that we've been talking about. It screws on here in place of the original adapter where the oil filter used to sit. Let me show you that one quickly. And it is way bigger. So you can see if the exhaust sits there and this yoke sits on the motor, there's just no ways that you would actually fit anything in there. So the plan is as follows. We will get a 90-degree bend to go onto this yoke over here, and both pipes will just relay to a point on the body over here where we're going to install the new oil filter. I'll show you that later. You might be wondering why we're putting the exhaust back on, because it will definitely have to come off again. That's the purpose of a dry bolt. Dry bolt is to measure. Now if you look at the little bracket that we've now installed for the oil filter over here, you can see that we now have plenty space there to be able to fit the 90-degree bend that we need to fit here. We may have to take it down though, and not up over here where I initially thought it was going to go, because it might just actually go too close to the exhaust pipes. So we might actually go down with this whole assembly, which is also fine because we can just turn it and then it comes back to the actual oil filter over here, which will then also obviously be a 90-degree bend going down and running to over there, but that's flexible piping, so we should be okay. But I've got these brass connectors all over, and the pipe goes on that quite tightly, so it's quite nice to just I know France is going to have something to say about this, but to just lube up the ends so that the hoses fit better.
Next we will be drilling the holes to fit this into the aluminium here at the back. Right, all 4 of the holes have been drilled, and next we'll find pop rivets to put in.
So that basically brings us to wiring eventually. A few things that we need to wire before we can try to start the car. Obviously the starter, Second thing is we would like to see if we get oil pressure, so oil pressure sensor, which sits over here somewhere. That's going to be quite important. We've run into a small problem. We sorted out the little fuse boxes over here. I hope you can see them. So they're all in order and populated with their fuses as per the diagram supplied to us by Murray. And we've completed the relays. They're all in place and completely wired up. But we've run out of these little connectors at the bottom to be able to connect the fuses to the wiring.
So what I'll be doing now is attaching this fuse diagram to the lid of all the fuses, so we can't lose it.
The part of the oil light will tonight be played by the indicator. This is the light, or the quickest light we can get our fingers on, that's got a globe inside it. We carefully wired that up to the switch over there that we showed you earlier. Remove the spark plugs, put lots of penetrating fluid in there. We've wired up the other side of the indicator light to the positive terminal over here. And to recap, if we get a light over there, it means that we do not have oil pressure. Now, and immediately you'll see our trusted oil light is on, meaning that we don't have oil pressure, and we're going to swing the motor to see if we can obtain oil pressure. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's a bit concerning. Let's do that again. 3, 2, 1. Yes! And we have oil pressure. I almost forgot to include this into the update. Power on, this you've seen. Lights, that you've seen. What you've not seen is a button for brights or high beams. This stuff is starting to get seriously exciting because we're getting to sort of the end of wiring. So what we have there is our fuel pump, and when I switch on the ignition, and she's noisy because there's no fluid in there at the moment, so I don't want to run it for too long. Having said that, I'm actually pretty sure that I should be able to control that fuel pump from the ECU. One rat's nest of wiring. And this is why we don't neaten this up before we done and tested everything, because you'll see now the fuel pump. Let me show you the fuel pump first. So ignition. Primed. So that's what it does, it primes. If you look there, that little light there indicates that we now have a wired up ECU.
A lot of boring math later.
Whoa. It's working! We have our prop shaft. Spencer, you're a legend. Thank you very, very much for all the effort that you made on this thing. Guys, I can absolutely recommend their work. They were absolutely great to us. Spencer even included the bolts that we need to tie this oak up back to the diff. And here's my plan. I quickly transferred the basic thing that I made there onto paper to get some basic dimensions. I transferred that onto my laptop, onto SketchUp, and I'm not a designer by any mean way or form, so I exported that to an STL file, which I put into my 3D printing software, and now I'm printing a prototype. And if that prototype works and fits where I need it to fit, I can then take the file that I created on SketchUp over here, export it to the appropriate format, and give it to a machine shop to create for me, to build properly. Right, Brendan. So we've rerouted the wiring.
You've really routed the wiring.
Yep. It's now more hidden, which is good. Reconnected the stuff there in the rat's nest where it was. The new starter is in its place. It fits properly and it works, and it fits behind the exhaust more importantly. And we realized it is very close to the exhaust, the starter and the oil piping. So we will very definitely wrap the exhaust with exhaust tape. Also, if you come check here, there's our 3D printed, this is a little bit funny, there's our 3D printed bracket for the alternator. Obviously it's not as taut as what the proper bracket is going to be, so it's not straight, and that's why the belt doesn't quite stay on there. But the good news is it works. Interesting to see if the battery charges from the alternator. Right, so in here, that's our alternator bracket, alternator mounting bracket, cut out of beautiful mild steel. Our friend Julio came through for us yet again. Thanks, Julio, you're a legend. And the alternator is now mounted up properly, but we're still battling with the issue that the battery is not charging. I mentioned before, our cooling system is all primed up. So this is our lekker. That's a South African word that we give to anything that is good. My wife is a genius. I'm just putting it out there. I was chatting to her about how rough this car runs and how I can't get it to run nice and smooth. And she made a comment, I don't know if she was serious or making a joke. She says, cars that runs like that, it's timing. And I remembered that we never did base timing on this guy. So we've done the base timing. Let's get the camera up on the tripod and do a test start and see if she starts and runs easier with timing closer to what it's supposed to be. Jeez, like these are odd numbers. Okay, bring the little one again.
Struggle much?
There were times that we didn't believe that we could get to this point. So, as I mentioned, we did basic wheel alignment today, but she drives fairly straight at the moment. We will have to take it for proper wheel alignment at some point. They also helped us out by torquing all the suspension bits whilst we were up on the lift over there. So we've got a list of things that we want to check for torque, but lots of them have been marked off. As you can see, the Birkin is back and she's looking pretty. Upholstery is done and it's looking pretty. that's that for building a Birkin in 15 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video with us. The fact that you're still here probably means that you also like watching videos about guys building cars. I'm going to link downstairs our friend Donnie from Brach Build. Go visit his channel, show him a bit of love. He has some really cool projects. We helped him in the previous video with his Messerschmitt that he's building. And I do think that if you enjoy our kind of content, you will probably enjoy his kind of content as well. Thanks for watching. Please click the like button. Apparently the algorithm now only goes for the like buttons, but if you do want to subscribe, also do that. And we will see you in the next one. Oh, always remember that life is too short to drive boring cars.